G'day, welcome back to the channel and welcome to this edition of MGUY EV News for Tuesday, the 28th of May, 2024. So it seems that all the car brands that are avoiding making EVs are the ones that are making all the money. Who'd have thought it? Car brands making record profits have one thing in common, a lack of electric cars. Why Toyota, Mazda, Mitsubishi and others are making more profit than Tesla and Volkswagen. With the Japanese fiscal year ending in March, manufacturers including Nissan, Mazda, Mitsubishi, Subaru and Toyota have reported record or close to yearly profit figures. Something those manufacturers all have in common is a very limited selection of, if any, electric cars. They're also all Japanese, benefiting from a weaker yen and strong export sales. However, Jaguar Land Rover, JLR, is in the same boat with higher Q1 margins and only one electric car. Tesla, meanwhile, has reported a 15-month low for sales in Europe, with the company cutting margins to stay competitive with upstarts from China that are capitalizing on export markets as home demand for electric cars tails off. Ford is another example, reporting a $2 billion Australian dollar loss on its electric vehicles in 3 months as it discounted EVs like the F-150 Lightning and Mustang Mach-E to shift units in the US. As a counterpoint, performance of Mazda, Nissan and Mitsubishi in the United States is excellent. All car makers reported growth driven by new upmarket models, especially Mazda with its large product architecture accounting for nearly 50% of profits. For some non-premium models, these Japanese companies get around the 25% US chicken tax by building vehicles in North America. Examples include the Mazda CX-50, 6th Gen Subaru Forester and Nissan Titan pickup. As for Toyota, the world's biggest car maker, operating profit surged 78% in the first quarter of 2024. For the full fiscal year, Toyota made a staggering 5.35 trillion yen profit. That's 51.6 billion Australian dollars. It only sells one electric model globally, the BZ4X. Well, there's the moral of the story. If you want to make profits, don't build EVs. Simples. I don't normally like to talk about e-bikes and scooters because the quality control involved with those is much lower than with electric vehicles. I don't want to tar electric vehicles with the same brush as these crappy little scooters coming out of China, but it's getting to be a complete epidemic. E-things go e-boom in Sydney's big old e-fires. Oh, Tim Blair, gotta love it. Here's a little known fact. More people have been killed in fires started by lithium-ion batteries than by nuclear power. Yet which one do the greenies want no part of? Yep, hypocrisy 101. One thing in favour of bicycles, they very rarely catch fire. Even the earliest bikes were largely flame resistant, despite being made from wood. Had he wanted to set his timber-framed 1817 creation ablaze, bicycle inventor Carl von Drace would have basically had to throw the accursed machine on a bonfire, just like a common witch. The same goes for the earliest non-motorised scooters, which were nothing more than wheels and planks. A few were presumably repurposed as firewood during the Great Depression, but hipsters can still find many unburned and functioning examples on eBay. Bikes and scooters remained pretty much immune to immolation right up until relatively recently, when a few bright sparks, get it, added electric propulsion and lithium-ion batteries to the two-wheeled equation. Revenue-wise, this was a brilliant move. A Mordor intelligence study put Australia's e-bike market size at nearly $100 million. Globally, Grandview Research says the e-scooter market last year hit $55.7 billion. Serious coin then. But the boom in e-bike and e-scooter sales is matched by massively enhanced career opportunities in the fields of fire suppression, household evacuation and emergency medical care. Consider just a few media reports this year of Sydney e-fires. January 19th, several people have been lucky to escape with their lives after a faulty e-bike battery sparked a fire that engulfed a Sydney beachside apartment block. The e-bike had been left on charge in a bedroom overnight, prompting warnings from fire authorities of the risks posed by lithium-ion batteries. March 14th, an e-bike burst into flames in an apartment block in Bankstown in Sydney's southwest. It's believed the fire occurred after the e-bike's battery, which was plugged into a generator device, went into thermal runaway. A second lithium-ion battery, believed to be from an e-scooter or e-bike, caught fire in the back of a garbage truck in Silverwater in Sydney's west. May the 23rd, 4 people have escaped an intense house fire, possibly caused by an e-scooter on charge at Narrowena. And on Sunday, Chippendale apartments were evacuated after a battery went thermal at an e-bike rental joint. New South Wales Fire and Rescue's Bryce Jonas told the Daily Mail, "We were struggling to find the source of the fire, but after some perseverance, we managed to find an electric bike battery burning at the back of the store. It's always a safe bet." Speaking of safety, nuclear is about as safe as a large-scale energy source can be, yet anti-atomic panic merchants keep pushing the near-exhausted "you wouldn't want them in your backyard" line. These clowns are more concerned about the infinitesimal risk of future Australian nuclear disasters than they are about lithium-ion fires happening right now in New South Wales at a rate, according to authorities, of nearly 6 per week. Go and read the whole thing, link in the description. Wow, these are some expensive EV chargers, averaging, by the looks of it, about $1 billion per charger. Buttigieg grilled over Biden's failed EV push, spending $7.5 billion on a handful of charging stations. Biden's Transport Secretary Pete Buttigieg, can't pronounce his name, was challenged on low EV sales and the slow progress in building charging stations, despite spending billions in tax dollars. US Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg faced tough questions over the weekend regarding President Joe Biden's efforts to encourage Americans to purchase electric vehicles, EVs, and the administration's failure to establish a comprehensive network of charging stations despite billions of dollars in federal investment. The confrontation occurred during a Sunday CBS News interview on Face the Nation with host Margaret Brennan. Brennan played a video clip of former President Donald Trump criticizing Biden's push for electric vehicles, saying, "Do you notice Biden's trying to save the electrical vehicle but not the gas-powered, which is the vehicle that everybody wants? They're going crazy with the electric car, costing us a fortune. We're spending hundreds of billions of dollars subsidizing a car that nobody wants and nobody's ever going to buy." In response, Brennan remarked, "He's not wrong." Although Buttigieg insisted that Trump's statement was inaccurate, Brennan countered, "On the purchasing, he's not. Of the 4 million vehicles purchased, you know what? 269,000 electric vehicles were sold in the US market. It's up like 2%. Despite the administration's efforts to promote EVs, American consumers remain largely unconvinced. Later in the interview, Brennan pressed Buttigieg about the $7.5 billion taxpayer investment made in 2021 to create a charging network for electric vehicles. She pointed out that the project, which falls under Buttigieg oversight, has only produced 7 or 8 charging stations in total. In response, Buttigieg claimed that the charging stations were challenging to construct and that the administration plans to build 500,000 stations in the next 6 years, despite having built fewer than 10 over the past 3 years. That's what government subsidies does for you. Spend $7.5 billion on 7 charging stations. Excellent. Here's another story about the uselessness of electric buses. Land's bus purchase cost 1 billion 2024 kroner. Now the buses have been taken out of service. Netavisen found a number of buses standing in the snow in parking lots. The buses were purchased by Ruter in 2019 and presented with great festivity at Radhusplassen in Oslo by the then Red-Green City Council. The buses cost Norwegian kroner 479 million, and with charging infrastructure and operation, the amount came to 850 million Norwegian kroner, which is equivalent to 1 billion Norwegian kroner in January 2024. These were supposed to be on schedule until a new round of contracts in 2023. The Oslo buses are put out to tender, but a so-called change order was received during the tender period, says Snorre Legran, planning director at Ruter. The then Red-Green City Council, with Environment and Transport Commissioner Lan-Marie Nguyen-Berg at the head, demonstrated that public transport should become emission-free at a faster pace. Not suitable. According to Ruter, all 70 buses have been taken out of service. As many as 22 of the buses are parked at various garage facilities. Snowed in? This is due to several factors, explains Planning Director Legran. 54 of the buses were considered to have such a short range that they are not suitable for today's bus production in Ruter. This compared to the battery development in recent years, which has resulted in buses with significantly greater range, says Legran to Netavisen. In 2023, a new tender was issued and new buses have rolled out, and new electric buses have now been purchased in Oslo and Viken. These are the ones that have been difficult to drive when the snow settled over Oslo and the temperature dropped far below zero. Netavisen has asked operators and Ruter what this purchase has cost without receiving an answer. Well, what a surprise. E-buses are a disaster anyway, And in cold climates, where the batteries hardly work at all because of the low temperatures, they are absolutely idiotic. And the amount of power that you require to heat a bus is quite a lot. And that's quite useful with a diesel engine, because you can take all that waste heat that the evangelists are always going on about and pump that into the cabin. Whereas if you're running off a battery bus, you need to use the batteries to heat the cabin, and that means less range. I mean, it's not difficult stuff to understand, but apparently it is for most governments. More trouble in the electric vehicle industry. Luxury electric vehicle maker becomes latest in industry to announce huge layoffs. Electric vehicle EV maker Lucid Motors announced that the company would be laying off staff in a bid to lower expenses amid a slowdown in the market. The layoffs will affect 6% of its workforce, equating to around 400 employees, and will trim from all employee levels, including leadership and mid-level management, according to a filing submitted Friday with the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC. Lucid is one of several EV makers to announce layoffs in recent months as consumers decline to adopt the product at the rate expected. The company estimates that it will have to pay out between $21 and $25 million in severance pay and benefits in connection with the layoffs, according to the filing. The planned terminations are expected to be done by the end of the third quarter. Well, sad, tragic news for the individuals involved, but not entirely surprising in terms of the EV market in general. That's it for this one. Thanks very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. See you in the next one. Bye for now.